The Rangers' longest win streak of the season was snapped, and who else could do it but Ketel freaking Marte?
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering the team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about the Rangers snapping their winning streak, promoting their top prospect, Tyler Mally's first rehab start, and a little bit of insanity happening elsewhere in the division. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, the Rangers snapped their longest winning streak of the season last night, a 6-game win streak with a 5-3 loss to the Diamondbacks. And of course, the deciding factor was Ketel Marte with a 2-hit day, a 3-run homer in the 7th inning to give the Diamondbacks the lead, which would just be a little bit too much for this Ranger squad to have a second straight miracle comeback in them. It was not in the cards last night after Hoby Milner came in, gave up 3 hits, including a couple of hits to one to a guy who just had barely done anything all season long in Jordan Lawler. Had just had a brutal start to his big league season and gets his first 2 hits in this one. And then on a pitch that wasn't even a bad pitch. I mean, I'll get him if there's a bad pitch. There were a couple of bad pitches earlier on in this inning, but this was not a bad pitch to Ketel Marte. But I guess any pitch anywhere to Ketel Marte right now, if you're a Texas Rangers pitcher, is a bad one. He throws a first pitch changeup. That was a bad pitch, but Ketel Marte takes it for strike 1. Then a changeup pretty well below the zone, maybe even below the buffer zone, at least, an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches below the zone, still over the heart of the plate. Ketel Marte hits that thing 115.4 miles an hour. Not even his hardest hit ball of the day. That was his first struck ball of the day, a double that ended up being stranded early on in this game because Jacob Latz did a pretty darn good job. But alas, it was not enough for this Texas Rangers team to overcome. They were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They left 7 men on base. They grounded into 3 double plays. And so you very easily could blame the offense in this one. They had their chances. They even had some chances with a runner at third base and less than 2 outs that they almost squandered twice. Thankfully, Wyatt Langford was able to drive in that first run with a sac fly. The second run driven in by Alejandro Ozuna, a multi-hit day again in this one, gets to start with Adolis Garcia hurt. He is not placed on the IL despite having a grade 2 quad strain, which feels kind of wild to me. The typical return time for that could be as little as 4 weeks, or it could be 6 weeks, but he's going to try and play through it. The Rangers are going to try and let him play through it because there's nobody on the 40-man roster that is really an option to come up and replace him. The only guy on the 40-man roster that's a position player even is Justin Foscue, and that's not a viable option for a team in the midst of a postseason chase. So they're going to try and see if he can just play through it and just DH, because the Rangers have a lot of games coming up against the Houston Astros. I don't know if you know this about Adolis Garcia, but he owns Houston and has since that 2023 postseason. Heck, he's actually really owned them for basically his entire Rangers career. And these 6 games that are coming up in the span of 2 weeks, they're going to be absolutely massive for the Rangers and their postseason chances, because the Rangers did lose in this one, but they didn't lose any ground because the Houston Astros and Seattle Mariners both lost. Both teams who the Rangers are chasing in both the AL West and the AL wildcard chase. Rangers still a game and a half behind the Mariners for that final wildcard spot. Still 4.5 games behind the Houston Astros, and as of this point, still hold the season tiebreaker over Houston. But that second run, I got to give credit to Cody Freeman. I mean, you look at his advanced numbers, you look at his prospect stats, you look at a lot of things about Cody Freeman, and it doesn't scream somebody who's going to be an impact ball player. And even his overall stats this year, I mean, he's got a 680 OPS, he's slugging 419, and he's got 2 homers and a 261 on base percentage. He's not playing outstanding defense at any single one spot, but he is just a freaking ball player. You even look at the advanced stats. I mean, there's a lot of blue on his baseball savant page. I mean, expected slugging percentage, average exit velo, hard hit rates, launch angle sweet spot, bat speed, chase rate. Like, he's chasing a lot. He's chasing more than 42% of the time, and he's not walking all that much, just 4.3% of the time. But he's not striking out. He's not swinging and missing, and he is just a flat out baller, reaching base in this one on a pretty well-earned walk and then scoring on a bloop single by Alejandro Ozuna that just gets out of the reach of the center fielder Blaze Alexander, and he tries to make a throw at home plate, scoring from first base on that play, making an incredible read on the ball right off the bat, knowing that's going to fall. There's no way he's going to catch that. Turning on as much of the jets as Cody Freeman has, he scores because he knew it would take a perfect throw. Tony Beasley throwing that windmill up and just watching that kid run. He goes 1 for 3 on the day, also works a walk. Alejandro Ozuna goes 2 for 2 on the day, then gets pitch hit for by Ezekiel Duran, who worked a double in his second plate appearance as a pinch hitter, also worked a walk. He reached base both of the times that he was at the plate in this one. But there's just something about Cody Freeman. He is just that dirt bag, that baseball rat, that ball player, that he's got that dog in him. You don't see that on his baseball savant page, but if there was a slider for that, the dog in him would be the 100 percentile, because that kid is just such every single, cliche, coaches, whatever nonsense cliche that, sometimes seems a bit trite, a bit overrated. It really does apply to Cody Freeman. He is a scrappy underdog that does not have a lot of tools. I mean, say with Alejandro Ozuna, both those guys very much similar players. They get more out of their tool set than you would expect. They are not big guys. They're not particularly beefy guys. They're not particularly fast guys. They don't do any one thing exceptionally well. Well, Alejandro Ozuna knows the strike zone incredibly well. That is not a physical gift, but it is definitely a very important baseball gift. Ozuna's a little bit different, though. You look at his baseball savant page, and I mean, both their numbers are not great. The numbers overall for Freeman are a lot better. I mean, only 525 OPS for Alejandro Ozuna. But you look at the savant page, and he's walking at an incredibly high rate. He's not expanding the zone too much. I mean, he's not really expanding the zone very much at all. He's not swinging and missing that much at all. His expected batting average is over 100 points higher than his actual batting average. I mean, the actual batting average is 178. The expected batting average is 284. That is a very good expected batting average. But it's just he's been very unlucky with some of the balls that he's hit. And he has been overall producing some pretty quality at bats. At times he can get a little bit, of the White Langford Nomar Mazara gene of being a little bit too passive. But Ozuna is again another scrappy ball player. The rookies were providing almost all the offense in this one. I mean, Jonah Heim gets an RBI ground out in the 9th inning to get the Rangers that much closer. Michael Hellman has a multi-hit day, including a triple. I mean, this guy, I think, really should be at the top of this Rangers lineup, because the guy in the number 1 spot has been struggling for quite a while. And I think it's time for the Rangers to move him down a little bit and take that pressure off. I'm talking about who that is, and another lefty who might just be more valuable on the bench right now than in the starting lineup. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Upside. Hey, Locked On Rangers fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind and get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON, get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already need. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cents back per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offer varies by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. The show is also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives you an advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Just a couple weeks ago, I took my girlfriend out to a Frisco Rough Riders game. It was a lot of fun. They had an incredible deal on tickets, some great seats. We got to see a really, really great game by the Frisco Rough Riders. Got to see the biggest teenager we've ever seen in person in Sebastian Walcott, and you can too. Use Gametime to get all your ticketing needs. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be talking about this finale against the Diamondbacks. Hopefully a series win and hopefully a great start by Jack Leiter, who has just been on a heater as of late. But the Rangers are having somebody in the leadoff spot who is on the opposite of a heater. Josh Smith has just been in such a free fall over the last 6 weeks, basically. It has been a tough watch for his at-bats, basically since the All-Star break. Don't get me wrong. Without Josh Smith doing what he was doing in the early months of the season, and heck, what he was doing in the early months of last season, the Rangers would not have been as close. Now, maybe last year you would have wished that he wasn't doing what he was doing in the first half. The Rangers could have been sellers, could have gotten a whole lot of prospects for Kirby Yates and David Robertson at the deadline, but alas, I digress. But Josh Smith, the Rangers need Josh Smith in this lineup, playing shortstop, playing third base, occasionally playing second base or the outfield, because there have been so many darn injuries that they can't afford to just straight up bench a guy. But there's a difference between playing a guy every single day because you need his glove and you need somebody playing that position in the lineup, and putting that guy in the highest leverage at bats, giving him the most at bats of anybody every single game. Now, Josh Smith last year, I think we remember how great a season he had, how he should have been an all-star in the first half. He was an incredible defender at 17 billion different positions last year. And offensively, he was the Rangers' best hitter for, well, you cobble together the entire season. Maybe Corey Seager gets a slight edge over him. But in the first half, it was not particularly close. He had an 861 OPS in that first half. He had 10 home runs, 5 stolen bases, 40 ribbies, 19 doubles. I mean, the man was an extra base hit machine. 30 extra base hits in the first half in 90 games. That was incredible. But I think we forget how bad the second half was for Joshua H. Pookie. Should have been an all-star in the first half. Smith, I mean, he was 7 points shy of a 300 batting average, 8 points shy of a 400 OPS. I mean, a 400 on base percentage in that first half. But in the second half, it was bad. A 215 batting average, a 265 on base, slugged just 300, a 565 OPS. Nearly 300 points lower OPS in that second half. And this year, it hasn't been as dramatic, mainly because he wasn't quite as good in the first half this year as he was last year. But it has been still pretty darn dramatic of a drop-off. A 769 OPS for Josh Smith in the first half this year. And in 42 games since the All-Star break, he has a 579 OPS. His on-base is below 300, not at all what you want from a leadoff guy. He's batting just 207, and he has just 1 home run in that span. It has been really tough to watch. The walk rate has gone down. The batting average has gone down. The just overall quality of plate appearances has really gone down in a big way since then. And it's not like the Rangers don't have somebody who could, step up and hop into that spot. I mean, Michael Hellman has been crushing it as of late. He's got a 929 OPS. He's hitting 263. He's working his walks. He's getting some extra base hits. He is incredible on the base paths and defensively. And I think the Rangers just need to slot Josh Smith down, far down in this lineup right now, because he is not a hot bat. He is just really struggling at the moment. And there were some rough at bats for Josh Young as well. I mean, Josh Young has really come under fire because he did not have a great two-strike approach early on in this season. It had gone a little bit better over that 10-game hitting streak, or maybe it was 11 games, but it ended last night. Wyatt Langford's on-base streak of 22 games, I believe it was also snapped last night, despite him having a nice sac fly in that one to give the Rangers the lead that they would ultimately squander. But Josh Young, in a big spot with a runner on third base with fewer than 2 outs, ends up striking out. And there was a lot of discourse on the timeline, and I felt it as well, of just Josh Young, hey, just shorten up, just put the ball in play, just get that guy home from third base. Now, it was Jock Peterson at third base, so it's not just a normal lane sac fly would end up scoring him. You need to kind of shorten up and really hit it a little bit farther. But the split stats, I went back into it because it felt like a lot of times where Josh Young has had that opportunity of a runner at third base with 1 or 0 outs, and all you have to do is just put the ball in play. Do not strike out. Put that ball in a spot where you can get a sac fly, drive in a run, because that is more important than barreling up a 3-run homer or whatever the situation is. And I went back and looked at his overall numbers this year. He's had 21 plate appearances with that situation. Runner on third with fewer than 2 outs, so a sac fly will score him. 21 plate appearances, 8 strikeouts. That's not great. That is a, nearly 40% strikeout rate. But then I looked across the board and I looked at the slash line, the average, and the RBIs. He's got 14 RBIs in 21 plate appearances in those situations. The strikeout rate, not great. You don't want a guy striking out more than a third of the time. I guess that's nearly a 36% strikeout rate. That's really tough. But he's hitting 316. He also has worked his walks in that span. He's got a 381 on base percentage and slugging 526, a 907 OPS in those spots. He's got 1 home run and 14 RBIs, and he's also got a double in that span. 6 for 21, or I guess 6 for 19 at bats, and also has a couple of walks in that span. Now, that's still not great. You still would kind of like him to shorten up. But then it was turned into, okay, well, he's done this for years. He's also, really didn't do this ever, of just having this 2-strike approach with a runner on third with fewer than 2 outs. And so I went back and looked. I didn't look at 2024 because there was just not a whole lot of data there. He was hurt when he was playing. It was just outside of those first 4 games before Phil freaking Maton and that fastball that changed everything for Josh Young last year. But I went and looked at exactly what he did in 2023, which was the first full year, the only other really full year he's had. And in 25 games, 29 plate appearances in that situation in 2023, he had 12 strikeouts in 29 plate appearances. Also, not great. I think a little bit lower of a strikeout rate than what he's done this year. But then I looked at the numbers again, an 823 OPS, 15 RBIs in 29 plate appearances. So more than half the time, he is getting at least a run home. He's got a homer. He had a homer. He had a 823 OPS in those situations. So I think it's easy to get lost in that was a big situation for the Rangers. Don't get me wrong. The Rangers may have won that game had Josh Young shortened up or just not chased that changeup. Maybe would have been able to put a ball in play and score the runner from third base, because Cody Freeman wasn't able to get that RBI single or whatever behind him. And the Rangers stranded runner at third base, not ideal. But I think just looking at the overall picture kind of separates what is the reality from what the feeling of that situation is. And we can kind of get a more apt picture, because I don't want the Rangers to see that one plate appearance by Josh Young and just completely take away what he had done in the previous 11 games. I mean, he had a 4-game multi-hit streak, 5-6 game multi-hit streak. He also had 3 of those games in that span where he had 3 or more hits. I mean, man has been on fire as of late. And as much as I would like the Rangers to win all 22 of their remaining games, that'd be awesome. That'd be really awesome. The Rangers would be a 94-win team. I don't think that's going to happen. You just got to move on to the next one and be a little bit better in this one. And I think the Rangers also might need to make a change at first base. Rowdy Tellez has just been in a bit of a slump the last 7 games. He's hitting only 136, and one of those 3 hits he has in that span was that bloop single that he had in this one. He has also been striking out at a pretty high rate, 8 strikeouts and 22 plate appearances in that span. You look over the last 15 games, it's also been a bit of a rough stretch for him, hitting 195 on base, below 270, slugging below 350. Not what you're looking for your big, beefy boy who all you do is hit home runs against right-handed pitching. You have Jake Burger on the bench, who I'm a little surprised didn't get any pinch hit plate appearance in this one. He was hot before he went on the IL. He came back for 1 game, had an RBI triple. That was a big, big spot. I think that Jake Burger should probably get some more starts against righties over the next couple of games, including this game, hopefully against Zach Gallen, which the line is probably already out as you're listening to this. Maybe the game's already happened as you're listening to this. But I really think it's time for some more Jake Burger run in this one, because I think the Rowdy magic might be flaming out. But I want to talk a little bit about Jacob Latz and somebody else who might be joining this rotation, and a different left-handed starter in the AL West who might have hit his own catcher intentionally. We're talking about what went down in Houston last night and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And if you don't have the full picture, you could end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that helps you bring your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you, so you can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. It makes managing money with your partner so much easier. You can get that view of what your finances are doing, what you want to do with your finances, and finally take control. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is with you with the Locked On Rangers postcast, reacting live after all the games this season, live in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, this was a solid game for Jacob Latz. It got away from him a little bit in this one, might have made it through 6 innings had he been just a little bit more aggressive against Corbin Carroll. He walks him, then he walks Gabriel Moreno, gets pulled in this one, and then just a tough outing for Luis Curvelo. Does not get the benefit of the doubt on a couple of calls. Lets 1 run score on an RBI single, that lets another score on a sac fly, gets a strikeout, and gets out of it, but not an ideal situation for a game. The Rangers were leading by 2 runs. I don't really know why the Rangers couldn't have used a different reliever at this point. I guess maybe you throw in Robert Garcia in that spot. Maybe that's too high a leverage spot for the Rangers to feel like they can trust him in that spot. Sean Armstrong has been used so many times over the last couple of days. I get that. Chris Martin not going to be used in back-to-back days. Maybe he's available for this Wednesday game. I mean, who knows at this point? But I mean, the Rangers could use 1 extra arm in there. Phil Maton has also been used a whole lot. I'd imagine he's available for this Wednesday game. Mark Church has finally started a rehab assignment, so maybe we see him a little bit in this one. But Danny Coulomb, who hasn't pitched in a week at this point, that felt like a situation where maybe you get him back in the tree of trust. Maybe that's too high a leverage spot for him. But Jacob Latz going 5 and a third innings, giving up a couple runs. Both of them were not his fault. Not a whole lot of strikeouts in this one. With Jacob Latz, I mean, it feels like feast or famine in terms of the strikeouts. And this one, I mean, not only just not a whole lot of strikeouts, not a whole lot of swings and misses by any means. I mean, only 3 swings and misses on the changeup, no swings and misses on the four-seam fastball, couple of whiffs on the slider. I mean, it was a pretty solid day for a guy who was just cruising. Maybe he should have gotten the chance to get himself out of it, but I get Bruce Bochy wanting to go to that bullpen because you're still not completely stretched out if you're Jacob Latz to a starter's workload. But again, this was more on Hoby Milner and the couple of pitches that he allowed some bloop singles to before that 3-run homer by Ketel Marte. I mean, shout out to Caleb Bosley for getting out unscathed of a game where the Rangers just needed to eat some outs with somebody in this pen. I mean, really doing himself some favors after a truly terrible day on Sunday, which is the reason the Rangers were in this mess that they couldn't use all of their leverage guys because they had to use some in a game where they were blowing out the A's. But still, overall, an okay game. And the Rangers at least didn't embarrass themselves too much, which is not what I can say for the Houston Astros. This was a really weird situation. If you missed it last night, the Astros lost to the New York Yankees with Framber Valdez on the mound. He may have pegged his catcher intentionally. It was a really close game for the Astros, and the Yankees ended up being the decisive blow was a grand slam home run into those Crawford boxes by a lefty off of Framber Valdez. He allowed a couple of homers to lefties in that one, including a 2-run homer to Jazz Chisholm. And then Trent Grisham goes yard with the bases loaded and 2 outs. And right before that pitch, his catcher was trying to get Framber Valdez to stop throwing that baseball. He saw something that he did not like, and he wanted Framber to step off and throw a different pitch or just take a second. And Framber didn't, throws a fastball right down the middle. It's a home run into the Crawford boxes, 6-0 at that point, and that was the decisive blow. And then 2 pitches later, the catcher calls for a curveball down in the zone, which a Framber curveball down in the zone usually is in the dirt. But Framber decides to throw a fastball. Maybe there was some confusion on the pitch comm. Maybe there was something lost in translation, but it did not look like it was unintentional, like Framber Valdez said. He threw a fastball, and it catches his catcher right in the chest. He's not ready for it. It just pegs him right in the chest, and instead of going and checking on his catcher, say, hey, are you okay? Is everything all good? Framber just turns around like nothing happened. The catcher stares him down after that, and then Framber stares back at him. And apparently after the game, Astros manager Joe Espada called both those guys in the office to have a closed door meeting to talk about what the heck happened. Framber said he apologized and that the cross up was unintentional. I've never seen anything like it. Just a full on diva meltdown from Framber Valdez, who is an emotional pitcher. But something like that happening when your team is 4.5 games up on the Astros, 3 games up on the Seattle Mariners for the division lead, that feels insane. That feels absolutely clinically insane to me. And the Astros are really, really struggling. You hate to see it. Oh, absolutely hate to see the Astros offense struggling. They got 2 more games against the New York Yankees starting today. I guess starting last night. This is going to be a big series for the Astros, who I believe will travel immediately to Arlington. I think that they have a getaway day on the final game of that series, but just a wild situation out there in Houston that I've never seen anything like before. I don't usually love talking about other teams when there's nothing to talk about, but that was just a wild moment, something to watch. If the Astros are going to have an implosion, that's kind of a sign of things imploding. Also, the Mariners lost last night with Cal Raleigh up in a clutch spot and could not get the job done. He has been struggling since basically the end of June, still hitting a lot of home runs, so still has set the record for most home runs by a catcher in a single season. Might end up setting the Mariners home run record or breaking the Mariners home run record. He's at 50 right now. I think it would take 57, and it might take, I believe, 55 to hit the most home runs by any switch hitter ever. So, I mean, things around the AL West are not going particularly well for anybody besides the Texas Rangers at this point, and it could be going a little bit better with the return of Cole Winn. Cole Winn up to 97 miles an hour in his perfect inning of work in rehab with the Round Rock Express last night against the Albuquerque Isotopes. Less of a great performance by Tyler Mahle in his what was supposed to be 2 innings of work. He did pitch in 2 innings. He did not pitched particularly well. He now has a 45 ERA in Round Rock for the season. Only ended up finishing off 1 inning, then faced 3 hitters in the second inning. He allowed a couple of runs in that first inning, then allows a single, a walk, and a 3-run bomb, and that was it for Tyler Mahle. He did strike out a batter. Fastball was down. The swing and miss on it was, not not great. It was down velocity wise, which I mean, you'd imagine for him missing basically almost 3 months. At this point, he was just averaging 91 miles an hour with a 4-seam fastball, but still getting 3 whiffs and 7 swings on it. He got a whiff on the cutter, didn't get any whiffs on the splitter. The control there was a little bit off. Same with the cutter. Had one that just really leaked over the middle of the plate that was launched for that 3-run homer. Threw 6 sliders in that one, which is a little bit higher of a rate than he would normally throw in a start. At least we've seen in starts so far this season. The splitter just wasn't particularly crisp. His misses were kind of close, which is what you expect for Tyler Mahle. The Rangers said if things went well in his rehab start, he could end up being back in this rotation by the next turn through this rotation, which would be, I believe, on Sunday, which would mean that was the last start for Jacob Latz. I would rather see another rehab start for Mahle where he looks just a little bit more crisp and maybe gets into the 3rd inning. At this point, he threw 36 pitches, so I mean the pitch count at least can be worked up a little bit for the next time through the rotation. But I don't love seeing that after an outing that was just really tough. I don't want to see that and say, oh yeah, immediately he's ready for the big leagues. If he got crushed for 5 runs in 1+ inning of work against AAA hitters, I don't think that next stop should be a pennant chase. Which in that Sunday game that would be against the Astros. I definitely do not think that is the move for the Rangers rehabbing righty, but I do think he will play a part in this rotation, at least in this pitching staff moving forward between now and the end of this season. I'm excited to see what exactly that role is going to be, but the Rangers might have somebody else. I don't think he is going to end up making his big league debut, but a guy who's making his AAA debut at some point this week. The starting pitchers for Round Rock this week are all listed as TBD. Jose Corniel, who is listed as the Rangers' top pitching prospect according to MLB Pipeline. I think I'm probably going to have him as my top Rangers pitching prospect after what he has done in Frisco. He was rehabbing early on this year with the Arizona Complex League. He's made 6 starts now with Frisco. He was the Rangers pitcher of the year in 2023. Then, of course, what happens to Rangers pitcher of the years? They have Tommy John surgery. So he was rehabbing with the Complex League and looked solid there in 4 outings. And then in 6 outings with the Frisco Rough Riders, he's still just 22 years old. So he's still very, very young, even though he's missed, all of 2024, and he's missed a decent chunk of 2025. In 6 starts, he had a 0.45 ERA, a 0.45 ERA in 20 innings pitched with the Frisco Rough Riders. 20 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 earned run, 5 hits allowed in 6 games. That is truly exceptional stuff for Jose Corniel. His first outing went 2 shutout innings, and his second outing he went 2 2 2/3 shutout innings. He allowed 1 unearned run in that one. Then he goes 3 innings of shutout ball. In his next one, 4 innings of shutout ball in the next 2 starts, and then 4 1/3 innings in his most recent start, which is the only time he has allowed an earned run in any outing in Double-A. He is now going to be in Triple-A. He's on the 40-man roster, and the Rangers acquired him from the Seattle Mariners in the Rafael Montero trade back in 2020. Kind of a flyer guy, a guy who was really, really low in the system, but not really advanced super high. I mean, he hadn't pitched an affiliated ball when the Rangers acquired him in 2020. He's 18 years old in the Complex League, and it was not great there. Was not great in Down East, his second year of pro ball. But then in 2023, he really broke out and had a 2.92 ERA in 101 2/3 innings and 119 strikeouts. I mean, he was fantastic. 10.5 Ks per 9, fewer than 3 walks per 9. And this year he has been fantastic yet again. I would not think that the Rangers call him up to be a part of their pen. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they do the same with Winston Santos, who's been incredible for Frisco as of late after coming back from a back injury that, took out most of his year. I mean, we'll see what the Rangers end up doing between now and the end of the season. They probably could use just a little bit more bullpen help. I mean, with Hoby Milner, it's not just been this last start. It's been, 3 of the last 7 outings. He's allowed multiple earned runs, and he's allowed runs in 4 of his last 7 outings. That is not what you're looking for. And when your tree of trust in your relief corps is basically just Sean Armstrong and occasionally Phil Maton, you could maybe use all the help you can get. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.